With that said, let's talk about President Obama going to Congress. There were two pieces out today, one by Ezra Klein and one by Brian Beutler, who said, and the implication of both the pieces was that the openness of the administration, both in terms of Kerry saying at the beginning of the hearing that, look, it's possible we have to put boots on the ground, but we don't want to do that, and the Obama administration writing such a broad authorization for military force, in a way, sort of forced Congress in some way to be a restraint on the Obama administration that the Obama administration couldn't be on its own. Does that make sense? I mean, tease that out for us and explain how that works.
Well, I honestly, you cut out a little bit there.
Oh,
Can you
sorry.
just restate the question?
Okay, yeah. So the Brian Beutler and Ezra Klein had pieces today that sort of suggested that the administration being so open about the potential for boots on the ground and coming in with such a broad authorization for military force was a way of inviting Congress to sort of restrain the administration.
Okay, yeah. I thought that a little bit too, but I think that doesn't make sense to me just because a congressional no vote would be so damaging. I just don't. I think those are both smart guys. I like them. I know them. I think they're great reporters. But that just seems to be kind of overthinking it to me. I think the way that this would be seen, both domestically and internationally, would be as a huge blow to the Obama administration. So I have real trouble thinking that that's how they're going about this.
In other words, there's no 11-dimensional chess going on here. It's just the way that's working out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting, but I don't agree with it.
All right, now let me ask you this. It was reported today that, I believe it was today, that Russia, in the Jerusalem Post, that Russia has suspended the delivery of S-300 missile systems to Syria, apparently because Syria has passed the 30-day window they have to pay their bills or whatever it is.
Yep.
That literally they haven't paid. So we're delaying it by 1 to 2 years. In that same piece, Putin had said that Russia may approve a military operation in Syria if evidence shows that Damascus carried out the chemical weapons attack. Should we perceive this as an opening? In other words, as the United States gets closer, in the event that Congress does authorize something, does that raise the stakes for the Russians? Because if they think that they're going to lose their customer, essentially, in Assad, does it put them in a position of wanting to negotiate? And are they starting to set up some way for them to save face?
Yeah, actually, I think that could be one of the better outcomes here, even possibly short of going through with the strikes. If you could, if Congress okays this, then the president moves forward, and Russia, fearing exactly what you said, could be, cajoled, inclined toward pushing, pulling back from supporting the Assad regime so much, or at least pushing elements of the regime to the table, which still remains the administration's policy to get the parties to a negotiation in which Assad is taken out of power, but the institutions of the state are maintained at some level, so we don't have the complete collapse of the Syrian state. So, I mean, I think if the threat of these strikes could get Russia to behave more productively, I think that would be a good outcome.
Is there any way that the United States, is there any settlement that you see possible where Assad stays in power? In other words, does he have to leave?
I don't see any outcome in which Assad himself stays in power. I just don't. I mean, I think the question is, what echelon, the second, third, fourth echelon of the Ba'athist government. We have the experience in Iraq where you de-Ba'athification, where you took out essentially all the people connected with Saddam's party, but that was essentially taking out all the people who knew how to run the state. We don't want to see that happen in Syria, but the question is how far down, the line do you want to clear out the people connected with this regime over the years?
Do guys like you and gals like you who study this stuff, do you have a notion of who those potential, who is in the Assad regime that maybe the Russians are talking to, saying like, this could be a good opportunity for you to get a promotion, that type of thing?
I really don't. There are others who study this much more closely than me who could probably give you a better answer. I know there was a Syrian general who just defected today. So that's a sign. But this is happening this is an ongoing thing.
Right.
So that's the kind of thing we'd like to see is greater defections, higher up defections from which is a sign both internally and to the opposition that the regime is starting to fall apart.
And I presume it puts pressure on Russia too, that if they want to maintain a customer there, they have to get in and be more proactive. All right. So lastly, I just want to touch on this part too, because this has come up sort of peripherally. Like in terms of Iran, there is some talk that the president needs to get, or one argument that the president is supposedly offering to guys like John McCain, who apparently, again today, I guess his iPhone, he may have lost in poker, and that has now sort of changed his disposition about supporting the president here, or maybe, I don't know, maybe it was some other game he was playing. But that the administration was making an argument like, if you don't give us authority here, that's going to prevent us from maybe launching an attack on Iran, and we all know how much you guys want that. Can you just sort of explain to us those dynamics?
Yeah, it's a little bit confusing. First you have the credibility argument, as I was describing earlier. The idea that the United States needs to do this to make clear to a range of actors, including and perhaps most significantly the Iranian regime, that when we draw a red line, as the president did around the nuclear weapon, that we mean it, and there will be consequences if that line is crossed. But also, there's an issue here regarding presidential authority to carry out military action. So the administration basically seems to be arguing, specifically toward people like McCain, and even more so Senator Lindsey Graham, who has actually been very, very frank about his intention to lay down the tracks for an eventual attack on Iran. That if you kind of handicap us here by not supporting us, then it could be a problem later in trying to get international support, for possible strikes on Iran, or at least signal that to Iran, which could undermine our negotiations with them.
Yeah, and those guys are really concerned that they may not get that Iranian war. That would be extremely, I think, sad, missed opportunity for them. All right, well, I appreciate your coming. So give me a sense. Do you have a sense of how this is, what's going to happen in Congress? Is the president going to get the authority, and when he goes to Russia, I think in the next day or two, right, for the G20 summit, I would assume that he would want that congressional, that resolved, right? Because he's sitting down with these other countries, particularly Russia, and they may discuss this. And if Congress is undecided, there's no way for any of these other countries to react.
Yeah, right now I think, it seems pretty clear he'll get the support of the Senate. The House is, it's really up in the air right now. I think you've got more dedicated no votes at this point. But I'm really not sure. You've seen the administration obviously going full court press. You've got groups like AIPAC that have been, brought in to lobby in favor. But at the same time, when you see even Liz Cheney running for Congress or running for the Senate in Wyoming, who's opposing this. Let me repeat that. Liz Cheney opposes this military intervention, which says something about the mood out there among voters. I really don't know.
Well, Matt Duss, thanks so much for your time today. It's been very enlightening, and really appreciate your keeping us up to date on this.
Sure, happy to.